Joining me now is William Kristol, founder and editor of the Weekly Standard. Bill, good to see you. Let's talk about the attempts to get something done before Congress goes home for the August so-called, I guess it's recess or vacation or work sessions at home. But don't they have to do something? And we saw that Senator Cornyn and Henry Cuellar were trying today to come up with something to have a bipartisan solution.
Hi, Andrea. I think the members of Congress would like you to call it a well-deserved break from their strenuous schedule here.
Like what have they done so far?
Here in Washington, they're working at least 2.5 days a week, you know. Look, I don't know that this legislation will go somewhere, but the House, I think, will pass legislation within the next week that will do what the Cuellar-Cornyn bill does in amending the 2008 law to allow the U.S. to send back the people to Central America after an appropriate, quick adjudication and hearing. I think the House also will appropriate some money for that purpose, not quite the amount that President Obama wants, and they'll pay for it by taking money from elsewhere in the budget. So I think the House Republicans want to move on this. I think the failure here really is the president's, in the sense that he said 2 weeks ago, we've got to amend the law. The system is obviously broken. The legal system is broken. And then he sends up an appropriation bill, a request for money, with no change in the law. He backed off under pressure from amnesty advocates. I think the House Republicans will pass, probably with some Democratic support, a bill that does amend the law and provide some money.
Of course, the law was, the 2008 law was a George W. Bush law. It was a voice vote. It was not controversial, and it was an anti-trafficking law.
Right. It wasn't intended to be used for this. I mean, it was a good faith, good, well-intentioned thing. But as we know, in public policy, good intentions sometimes have perverse consequences. And as I said, the president himself said a couple of weeks ago, this law needs to be amended. And I think that's what the House Republicans will do. And it is significant, as you said at the beginning of this segment, it's not just Senator Cornyn, a Republican from Texas, who says the law has to be amended. It's Congressman Cuellar, a Democrat from Texas. So I think there could be a bipartisan resolution of this pretty quickly, but I do not believe Republicans will simply give the president a lot of money with no change in the law.
One of the problems, though, is also that they don't have enough judges. And the Justice Department announced 40 new immigration judges. They have to be trained. That takes quite some time. And 40 is a drop in the bucket, I'm told, by border experts. They need far more people to process these applications, because there are some who are legitimate refugees and need to be accommodated under those provisions, given the violence in Honduras and Costa Rica and Guatemala.
I think they're going to try to bring back some retired judges, but yes, I agree with you. But again, this is, you know, the president submitted a budget last year that didn't call for more of these judges. And I do think, look, he in a, again, well-intentioned way, wanted to be nice to the children who are already here, with great publicity, in effect amnestied hundreds of thousands of children who are here. It had the effect, I think conservatives were right about this, Andrea, if you have an amnesty, it is a magnet, and a lot of parents in Central America... But
it's not really an amnesty. It's for kids who are here all their whole lives, more than 7 years, and who then go to college or join the military.
But he's also not deporting any kids, I think, basically, who are already here. And I'm not even saying that's a bad policy. I'm just saying we should be grown up and realize these things have consequences. And then there was all this talk about further liberalization of immigration policies. It led to what, it led to the situation we face, which is unacceptable and has to be dealt with. And it has to be dealt with not just by throwing money at it, but by changing the legal structure that is making this situation so unfortunate.
Why wouldn't the House, going back several steps now, take up the Senate bill and at least have a debate and floor vote on the Senate broader immigration bill? Isn't that in the Republican Party's best interests going forward, to have some kind of action on immigration?
It's in the Republican Party's interest to have good action on immigration, but not the Senate bill. I'm against the Senate bill as a policy matter, and I don't see why the House should yield to the Senate on this. And incidentally, no one thinks anything in the Senate bill would have done anything about this situation. And in fact, I do think, honestly, the Senate bill made this situation worse, because it generally sent the signal that if you get over here, it may take a few years, but eventually you're going to be amnestied. And I think everyone, everyone in the liberal media, and even a lot of people in the conservative media, kind of ridicule that. It sounds like such a simple-minded argument, but it turns out to be true. And you really have to be careful, I think, for that reason, about sending a signal that illegal immigrants ultimately are going to have safe passage and safe harbor here.
William Kristol, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Thanks, Andrew.
And as we mentioned,